Cleopatra's Health Protocol. Part 1. On Ritual, Self-Care, and Inner Sovereignty. Cleopatra ruled not just with intellect and charisma, but with a deep sense of ritual and self-respect. Her daily routines, baths, oils, perfumes, meditations, were not simply for beauty, but for restoring her inner power. In the ancient world, self-care was often dismissed as a luxury or a distraction. Yet Cleopatra understood what many of us are only now beginning to reclaim. Self-care is the root of self-command. It is the origin of resilience, presence, and even creativity. She wasn't just pampering herself, she was preparing herself every single day to be queen. In the royal palaces of Alexandria, Cleopatra's mornings reportedly began with quiet rituals, bathing in milk and honey, anointing herself with scented oils distilled from rose, myrrh, and lotus, and taking time to compose her thoughts before facing the world. These were not hurried, perfunctory acts. They were sacred. They were her way of gathering her spirit and reminding herself of her worth and her power before engaging in the business of empire. It's easy to dismiss such rituals as mere vanity, a queen indulging her appetites and appearance. But the deeper truth is this: every ritual was a way of saying, I am worth the effort. I claim my energy before I give it away. The bath was a cleansing not just of the body, but of yesterday's burdens. The oils, a shield for the soul as much as the skin. The quiet, a form of meditation before the noise of the court arrived. These small daily ceremonies taught Cleopatra something modern. Wellness often forgets that how we begin our day shapes everything that follows. The world pulls at us. Messages, demands, politics, expectations. If we do not first claim our center, the day will pull us away from ourselves before we've even begun. And so, Cleopatra's protocol started with an act of inner sovereignty. She gave to herself first. Only then, adorned with intention and calm, would she appear before her court, her people, and her fate. This lesson echoes down the centuries. Before the world asks anything of you, give to yourself first. Whether it's a mindful shower, a nourishing breakfast, a walk in the sun, or a simple 5 minutes of silence, these rituals anchor us. They say, I matter. From that place of steadiness, we can face anything. Our rituals become our refuge, our armor, and most of all, our reminder that self-respect is the beginning of all true power. When you practice self-care, you are not escaping life. You are equipping yourself for it. Cleopatra understood this. She was not just a ruler of a kingdom, but a ruler of herself. And that is the true secret of sovereignty. We cannot govern the world until we have learned to govern ourselves. Part 2. On Food, Balance, and Ancient Nutrition. Cleopatra's table was as rich in symbolism as it was in flavor. As the sovereign of Egypt, a land where the Nile's yearly flood meant life and abundance, she knew that food was not merely about filling the body, but about nourishing the spirit. For Cleopatra, each meal was a ritual, a meeting point between the material and the mystical, the daily and the divine. Her diet, as recorded in fragments of history and legend, reflected the wisdom of both Egyptian tradition and the wider Mediterranean world. She favored figs, grapes heavy with sun, barley breads warm from communal ovens, sweet almonds, raw honey, lentils, and the vivid greens that flourished along the riverbanks. Her court dined on herbs, mint, coriander, fennel, dill, not just for flavor but for their healing qualities. Occasionally, the table offered fresh fish from the Nile or tender poultry, always in moderation and never in excess. Cleopatra was no stranger to luxury, but her approach to food was never about excess for its own sake. She understood the dangers of indulgence, the way the pursuit of more can dull both palate and purpose. Instead, she ate with intention, seeking a balance that would harmonize her body with her mind and her environment. She blended the simplicity of Egyptian staples with the subtlety of Greek cuisine, creating a fusion that was as diplomatic as it was delicious. Even her famed use of apple cider vinegar as a digestive tonic suggests an early understanding that food, when chosen wisely, is both medicine and preventative care. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Cleopatra's nutrition was the spirit in which she ate. Meals were never rushed. The table was a space of ceremony. Bread was broken in the company of poets, scholars, musicians, and friends. There was music, laughter, stories, and always gratitude. Food was not a transaction. It was an experience. It was a chance to give thanks for the earth's abundance and to share joy with those she loved and trusted. In this way, Cleopatra's health protocol reaches across time to challenge us. Are we eating to nourish or to numb? Are we savoring the gifts of the earth, or are we rushing through our meals, distracted and detached? Are our choices mindful or automatic and empty? Cleopatra teaches us that how we eat can be as important as what we eat. Let every meal, no matter how humble, become a ceremony, a pause for presence, a gesture of reverence for both body and earth. In honoring this simple ritual, we restore the sacredness to nourishment and remember, food is not just sustenance, it is gratitude, it is healing, and it is life. Part 3. On beauty, healing, and the power of nature. Cleopatra's beauty was legend, but to reduce it to mere appearance is to miss its essence entirely. Her allure was not simply the result of birth or luck, but the product of a mindful relationship with healing and nature, a devotion to tending both body and spirit. Her beauty rituals, passed down through rumor and record, were nothing short of alchemy. Cleopatra was part scientist, part priestess. She bathed in milk and honey, not for vanity, but for the soothing, healing properties these ingredients offered. Modern science now confirms that lactic acid gently exfoliates, honey hydrates, and together they restore the skin's youthful softness. But for Cleopatra, these baths were also meditations, a sacred immersion, a chance to shed the dust of yesterday and emerge renewed. She was intimately familiar with the apothecary of nature. Her shelves were lined with clay jars of aloe, myrrh, frankincense, and rose oil. She anointed herself with these balms, not just to soften the skin, but to ground the mind, to invoke calm before a difficult meeting or clarity before a public appearance. The same ingredients we now find in the most exclusive spas were, to Cleopatra, a birthright, gifts from the earth, applied with reverence and intention. More than any single secret or recipe, it was Cleopatra's harmony with the natural world that defined her approach to beauty and health. She spent time in her palace gardens, walked among papyrus and lotus, sailed the Nile, and breathed the open air. She knew that true wellness could not be separated from the living world outside her walls. To touch the earth, to inhale the perfume of blooming lilies, to bask in sunlight, these were not luxuries, but necessities for her soul. In this, Cleopatra offers us a profound invitation to see beauty as a relationship, not a possession. We are not separate from the earth that heals us. Each time we care for our bodies with natural ingredients, herbs, oils, water, sun, we enter into an ancient dialogue, honoring both our ancestors and our own worth. So, what can we take from her protocol? Beauty is not something manufactured or bought. It is cultivated through ritual, respect, and a return to what is real. The path to radiance is paved with simple things: water, rest, laughter, nature's touch. In a world obsessed with quick fixes and artificial enhancements, Cleopatra's wisdom endures, a reminder that to be truly beautiful is to be whole, attuned, and in harmony with the natural world. Let us, like Cleopatra, become caretakers of ourselves and our environment. Let our daily rituals, however simple, be a return to source, a celebration of both our body's resilience and the earth's generosity. For in this ancient alliance, we rediscover a beauty that endures beyond legend. Part 4. On mindset, presence, and emotional resilience. Cleopatra's world was a crucible of intrigue, her throne balanced on the edge of shifting alliances, betrayals, and relentless demands. Yet, through the turbulence, she became renowned for her unshakable composure and poise. Her secret was not an absence of emotion, but a mastery of her inner world, a discipline of presence that made her legendary not just as a ruler, but as a human being. Cleopatra practiced presence long before mindfulness was given a name. Before stepping into the whirlwind of court and council, she carved out spaces for stillness. Ancient sources speak of her withdrawing for quiet reflection, seeking the counsel of philosophers and healers, or simply allowing the gentle music of her palace to soften her mind. She understood that true strength does not come from denying feeling, but from meeting emotion with attention and grace. She was also a curator of her surroundings, surrounding herself with beauty, wisdom, and trusted friends. She knew the nervous system's need for calm, long before modern science named it. Baths and scented massages were not mere luxuries, but instruments of stress relief, her way of resetting before major decisions or after personal heartbreak. Poetry, music, and nature were as much a part of her protocol as any physical ritual. Each was a tool for grounding, each a way to process emotion and restore clarity. Yet Cleopatra was not untouched by pain. She endured great losses, of power, of allies, of love. She faced moments of defeat, humiliation, and isolation. But instead of closing herself off, she became a student of resilience. She learned to listen, to adapt, to turn wounds into wisdom and setbacks into strategies. She grieved, but she did not let sorrow define her. Cleopatra's health protocol, then, is a profound call to tend the garden of the mind. She teaches us that presence is both shield and sword. When we make time for reflection, when we allow our feelings to be seen and soothed, we strengthen our capacity to meet the world with clarity and courage. Emotional resilience is not an accident. It is the result of small, daily choices to restore ourselves, to seek beauty, and to surround ourselves with voices that uplift. Her life asks us, are you making space to tend to your inner world? Do you pause to breathe, to reflect, to listen before you leap? Are you nurturing your mind as carefully as your body? Cleopatra's enduring lesson is that the mind, like the body, must be cared for with devotion. In moments of crisis, presence becomes our anchor. In times of joy, it lets us savor the fullness of life. To be resilient is not to be unbreakable, but to be willing to restore, again and again, the calm at our center. Part 5. On legacy, joy, and living as a work of art. Cleopatra lived with a vivid awareness that every choice shapes a legacy. Surrounded by a world that demanded strategy and sacrifice, she refused to let life become only a series of duties or survival. Instead, she turned each day into an act of creativity, a canvas for joy, meaning, and unforgettable presence. She knew life was unpredictable. She faced triumph and tragedy in equal measure, but her response was not to retreat into bitterness or caution. Instead, Cleopatra practiced the art of celebration, finding reasons to savor, to laugh, to adorn herself and her world with color and music. Even in times of uncertainty, she orchestrated grand banquets, not merely to display power, but to delight the senses and forge bonds between people. She filled her days with learning and curiosity, making time for philosophy, science, and the stories of poets. For Cleopatra, legacy was not something built solely in marble or myth. It was crafted moment by moment in how she treated others, how she cared for her own spirit, and how she brought beauty into every corner of her realm. She understood that joy was not a luxury, but a necessity, a wellspring from which strength and vision could flow. Her health protocol at its heart was about living fully. She teaches us that the body and mind are not merely to be maintained, but celebrated, that purpose and pleasure can walk hand in hand, that true health is not about restriction, but about the courage to delight in life, to make every day a work of art, no matter its challenges. Cleopatra asks us, are you living as if your life is your greatest creation? Do you allow yourself to seek beauty, laughter, and connection, even in difficult seasons? Are you choosing to leave a legacy of presence, kindness, and joy? The enduring wisdom of the Queen. Cleopatra's story is a mosaic, part fact, part legend, all enduring inspiration. Her health protocol was never about perfection, but about wholeness. She reminds us that true wellness is a balance of body and mind, ritual and spontaneity, strength and softness. Through her daily practices, her mindful rituals, her reverent meals, her harmony with nature, her emotional resilience, and her joyful living, Cleopatra crafted a life that still speaks to us today. In a world that often urges us to rush, compete, and conform, she stands as a reminder. Wellness is both an act of rebellion and of self-respect. Your life is your kingdom. Tend it wisely, embellish it with purpose, with beauty, and with presence. Let each day be your own ancient protocol. Let each moment be a brush stroke in the masterpiece that is your life. Thank you for exploring the wisdom of Cleopatra with me. For more timeless reflections on health, philosophy, and the art of living, subscribe and join the journey.